Rojas's unexpected blast will forever be iconic.
That's the truth, baby.
But would it be remembered 5, 10, or 50 years down the road like it is currently destined to be if it wasn't followed by Will Smith's 11th inning go-ahead shot and a Dodgers World Series victory?
No.
To find the answer to that, we actually don't need to look that far back in the MLB archives. In fact, our DeLorean only needs to travel to November 2nd, 2016. Our destination, the gorgeous city of Cleveland. For Game 7 of what is largely considered one of the best World Series matchups of all time. It's on this night that another incredibly unlikely hero sent 35,000 plus into an absolute frenzy with a home run that ranks 6th all-time in MLB history in championship win probability added at 39.04%, 4.13% higher than Rojas's 2025 home run. That hero was the 5'10" speedster, Rajai Davis.
Wow.
In this video, I'm going to revisit the incredible 8th inning at-bat by breaking it down pitch by pitch. I'll also share some of the facts and stats that made Rajai doing what he did so damn unlikely. And we'll determine whether or not the raising of a trophy is required to make a heroic moment truly iconic. It's Game 7, and the Cleveland faithful are unified in prayer, as their team has somehow squandered a commanding 3-1 series lead and now find themselves down 3 runs and 6 outs away from losing the Fall Classic. Star shortstop Francisco Lindor grounds out, 5 outs left, and the veteran Mike Napoli gets rung up, 4 outs left, before 23-year-old budding star Jose Ramirez reaches base on an infield single off the glove of Addison Russell, prompting Cubs manager Joe Maddon to turn to his closer for a 4-out save. That closer was the absolutely electric Aroldis Chapman, who the Cubs paid a steep price to acquire at the deadline from the Yankees for moments exactly like this. 2016 Aroldis Chapman had a 3-pitch arsenal, if you could even call it that. His fear-inducing four-seam fastball, which he averaged 101.1 miles per hour on over the course of the campaign, while throwing it 81.1% of the time. An 88.8 mile per hour wipeout slider that he threw 15.7% of the time, and an 89.6 mile per hour changeup that he only turned to 3.5% of the time. And when your heater holds the opposition to a 149 average with 69 punch-outs, you can understand why the braking and off-speed stuff really was just optional.
Yes, that's true.
But Chapman had been used quite heavily by Maddon over the course of the Cubs' playoff run. This Game 7 appearance was his 13th of the postseason, including a 20-pitch outing the night before, and a 42-pitch 2 2/3 innings save just 3 nights earlier.
I'm tired, boss.
But Chapman came out firing, throwing 6 straight fastballs at the right-handed hitting Brandon Guyer, before Guyer drove a 97.9 mile per hour heater up and away to the gap in right center, cashing in Ramirez and cutting the Cubs' lead to 2. It's at this point that a soon-to-be Cleveland hero stepped into the box. A 35-year-old veteran in his 11th big league season with his 6th different team at this point, Rajai Davis didn't exactly strike fear in his opponents, but he could be generally counted on for being a tough at-bat. He wasn't afraid to swing early in the count, as his .361 average on the first pitch of an at-bat during the 2016 campaign suggested, and he also would regularly choke up on the bat to max his chances of putting a ball in play, knowing that his speed would put pressure on the defense. Coming into this AB, Rajai was a combined 1 for 5 lifetime over the regular season and postseason against Chapman, with 3 punch-outs, and his only hit being an infield single 3 nights earlier, when Chapman failed to cover the bag after a diving stop by Anthony Rizzo at first. For pitch number 1, Chapman completely non-surprisingly pumped in a 99.1 mile per hour fastball that was ruled just outside, or maybe up?
Agree to disagree.
The offering was the 12th pitch Chapman had thrown to Davis in the postseason so far, with all 12 being the heater. Likely sitting heater once again, the choked up Davis fouled the 98.5 mile per hour offering to the right, evening the count at 1-1. Chapman decided to continue with his fastball, pumping another one in the zone at 97.8 miles per hour. That Davis again fouled off to the right, bringing the count to 1-2, and opening up the increased possibility that Chapman could turn to either his slider or changeup as a putaway. Instead, Chapman sticks with his heater, gearing back and firing it in at 100.5 miles per hour, but missing outside to even the count at 2. With all 3 pitches on the table once again, Chapman elects to stay with his fastball, catching the low and inside part of the plate at 98.8 miles per hour, that Davis just managed to get a piece of, fouling it off to the left. For pitch number 6, Chapman stayed with his fastball yet again, eclipsing the 100 mile per hour mark for a second time with a 100.3 mile per hour heater that was off the outside part of the plate, but a protecting Davis just managed to get a piece to keep the battle alive. And then came the pitch that sent Cleveland into a frenzy. Chapman, non-surprisingly at this point, elected to stick with his heater. The 7th straight in this at-bat, the 18th straight thrown to Rajai in the postseason, and the 25th he had seen from him in his lifetime to that point. And Rajai made him pay by golfing the 97.8 mile per hour, offering 369 feet at an exit velocity of 101.5 miles per hour, just over the wall and left. And most importantly, tying the game at 6. Cleveland erupted, and plans for a statue of the journeyman who came through in the clutch began to be devised. But just 2 innings later, despite another clutch hit from Davis to bring the Indians within 1 in extras, the Cubs recorded the final out and finally ended their storied 108-year World Series drought, and leaving all of Rajai Davis's heroic efforts in vain. So now that we've relived what happened, let's see what exactly made Rajai Davis doing what he did so damn unlikely. But just before I get to that, I do want to quickly ask you to please take a second and subscribe to help me to be able to continue to make content like this available for you for free via YouTube. Thanks. The first place to start is that Rajai, much like Miguel Rojas, was simply not a power hitter. The 369-foot blast was just the 56th of Rajai's 11-year career at that point. Yes, he happened to hit a career-high 12 that regular season, but it was the first and only time he ever hit a double-digit amount in a campaign. And we're still only talking about 12. The second unlikely factor is that when Rajai did manage to connect, it generally wasn't off the four-seam fastball. Only 15 of his career 55 home runs prior to that Game 7 blast, 27.3%, came off the heater. Chapman's 97.8 mile per hour offering was also the hardest fastball that Davis had ever and would ever connect on for a home run, with a 95.2 mile per hour sinker from Brandon Finnegan being the next hardest pitch he ever hit out in his career. So you can't blame Chapman and the Cubs for sticking with the gas. The third unlikely factor is that outside of Games 5 and 7 of the World Series, Davis was having a terrible postseason at the plate. In fact, coming into Game 7, he was hitting only 103 over 29 playoff at-bats with 9 strikeouts. The fourth and final factor, that the various shades of blue on Rajai's 2016 Baseball Savant page reflect, is that Davis, by the numbers at least, really shouldn't have been the guy to do what he did, much like our buddy Miggy Rowe. In 2016, Rajai had a barrel percentage of 3.4, a hard hit percentage of 29.9, and an average exit velo of 86.5. But the beauty of baseball is that anyone can defy the analytics in any given moment, and on the 219th fastball that Aroldis Chapman had thrown in the 2016 postseason to that point, Rajai Davis did exactly that. So now, let's try to determine whether what failed to come after for the 2016 Indians prevented Rajai's moment from becoming truly iconic. While there is no clear-cut, data-driven way to answer this, we do have 9+ years of media treatment to look to. In Cleveland, the Blast has certainly received its fair share of love over the years. Rajai has made a number of appearances at team events, has thrown out the ceremonial first pitch to loud ovations, and a recent MLB.com article listed it as the 4th biggest moment in Cleveland's history. But on a national scale, it seems to be forgotten more often than not, regularly receiving no mention in lists of the greatest postseason home runs of all time, even being surpassed by blasts hit in only the wild card, DS, or CS that share one thing in common: the team they were hit for ended up winning the pivotal game they were hit in. Even a quick glance at the official MLB channel's upload of the highlight shows only 725,000 plus views over 8 years, compared to the 1.3 million plus views on Rojas's blast since being posted less than 4 months ago. While some of the more recent comments on the Davis video suggest that Mickey's home run brought them back to this moment, that seems to be a connection that only diehard MLB fans seem to make. So, do I think that Rajai Davis's home run has been held back from being as heroic as it should be? Yes, but in a team sport like baseball, how the team ultimately performs will always be king. Where does Rajai's home run rank in your personal postseason heroic moments list? And what other playoff moments come to mind as similar to it? Let me know via the comments, and be sure to subscribe for plenty more baseball content.